Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're basically tearing down all those romantic comedies and looking at the hard, chaotic science of romance. Have you ever wondered why falling in love turns a perfectly functional, normal adult into this nervous, giggling mess? Well, fair warning right up front. What we're about to explore is a lot less about getting struck by Cupid's arrow, and honestly, a whole lot more about a biological hostile takeover. All right, let's just dive right into this. Seriously, think about that question for a second. Why does love actually feel like a hostile takeover? If you've ever had a crush and felt like you were, entirely losing control of your own body and your mind, you're absolutely not alone. Your brain is literally being hijacked. And the crazy thing is, it's happening in very specific, highly measurable stages. Okay, picture this. You're just standing in a coffee shop, someone walks in, orders a cappuccino, maybe laughs at something on their phone, and suddenly your brain decides, out of nowhere, that this is the absolute most important moment of your entire life. Your palms are sweating, your stomach is doing backflips, and somewhere deep inside your skull, a tiny chemical rave has just kicked off completely without your permission. So let's look at exactly what happens first. Which brings us to stage one, red alert. So the very moment you spot someone who catches your eye, your brain's alarm system, which is this little almond-shaped structure called the amygdala, it just lights up like a Christmas tree. Now, this is the exact same part of your brain that fires off when you see a massive spider on the wall, or when you almost miss your train. Yeah, the very first thing your brain does when you fall in love is treat this highly attractive person like a massive potential threat. And this really brilliantly illustrates this hilarious evolutionary flaw we all have. Your body immediately starts pumping out adrenaline and cortisol, the classic fight-or-flight duo. That's exactly why your heart races and your hands get all clammy. You're not nervous because you're weak. You're nervous because your brain genuinely, literally cannot tell the difference between the love of my life and a bear in the woods. I mean, evolution really phoned it in on that one, didn't they? But assuming you don't actually run out of the coffee shop screaming, we quickly move on to stage two, the dopamine disco. Once your brain finally decides this person is actually worth pursuing instead of, running away from, it switches on its reward system. Enter dopamine. This is the brain's absolute favorite party chemical. It's the exact same substance that spikes when you eat a huge piece of chocolate or win a video game. And interestingly enough, brain scans actually show that the areas lighting up when people look at photos of their romantic partner are practically identical to the areas that light up in people using stimulant drugs. So biologically speaking, your brain isn't just falling in love, it's quite literally getting high on a person. And this quickly builds into, well, an everyday obsession. Your brain just floods this reward pathway every single time you encounter these basic triggers. We're talking thinking about them, seeing them, catching a random whiff of their perfume, or even just feeling a text buzz in your pocket. This is exactly why you literally cannot stop checking your phone for a text back. Every single buzz is a tiny little hit of dopamine, and your brain just wants more of it. So you're not desperate, you're just neurologically hooked for the time being. Which naturally brings us to the most dangerous phase. Stage 3, losing your mind literally. So when researchers actually scan the brains of people who are newly in love, they notice something incredibly odd. The areas responsible for critical thinking and judgment, they actually quiet down. Your prefrontal cortex basically goes out on a coffee break. It's your brain's way of saying, hey, let's not think too hard about this right now. We are way too busy being obsessed. And this is exactly why your best friend can list off like 5 massive red flags about your new partner, and you simply cannot see them. The lights in your logic center are literally just dimmed. At the exact same time, your serotonin, which is the chemical that usually keeps you calm and level-headed, it drops off an absolute cliff. And low serotonin is directly linked to obsessive thinking. This severe chemical drop results in a lovely little checklist of behaviors. You know the ones. Replaying one single conversation 40 times in your head, stalking their really old profile pictures from like 2014, and spending 3 hours trying to decode a text that just says, haha, okay. So congratulations, your brain chemistry now strongly resembles that of someone with mild OCD. Love truly is a beautiful disorder, isn't it? Thankfully, you do not stay in this totally exhausting phase forever. If the relationship actually survives the initial madness, we enter stage 4, the bonding glue. Eventually, the brain slowly starts to shift gears. We move away from the early adrenaline, the dopamine, the total chaos, and the obsession, and we transition into long-term love, which is characterized by calm and attachment. Because honestly, your brain simply couldn't survive running at that early manic speed forever. It desperately needs stability. And to get that stability, oxytocin and vasopressin step onto the stage. Now, oxytocin is the famous cuddle chemical. It surges when you hug, hold hands, or even just make prolonged eye contact. And vasopressin, well, that plays a huge role in long-term bonding and actual commitment. Together, they basically act as the brain's glue gun, slowly cementing you to another human being so you don't just wander off after that initial dopamine high completely wears out. It's kind of wild. First, nature gets you addicted, and then it completely convinces you to stay. Which leaves us with the ultimate question, why? I mean, why put us through all the sweaty palms, the obsessive late-night stalking, and the temporary loss of all common sense? Like, why does this wild chemical circus even happen in the first place? Well, from a grand evolutionary standpoint, it all basically boils down to survival. Falling in love strongly encourages pair bonding, which historically meant much better chances of raising offspring, sharing valuable resources, and, just not facing the terrifying wilderness completely alone. Your brain really isn't trying to write you a romantic pop song. It's literally just trying to keep the human species going. But here is the really beautiful part of all this. Even though we know all the mechanics, the panicked amygdalas, the flooding dopamine, the completely dimmed prefrontal cortexes, it doesn't actually make the butterflies or those deep late-night conversations feel any less magical. So the next time your heart races around someone, just remember you aren't going crazy, you are just hosting an elaborate ancient chemical party. Oh, and a little parting piece of advice based on actual brain science: don't text them back too fast. Just let their dopamine work for it. Look, evolution completely wired your brain to form attachments and seek out connections. So why try to fight nature? Go ahead and just give in to your biological drive to connect by liking this explainer and subscribing to the channel. Honestly, it is fantastic for your oxytocin levels, and it absolutely guarantees you won't miss our next fascinating tour through the brain. Stay curious, stay caffeinated, and we will see you next time.